Still going on the train of favorites, when you worked on Little Big Planet 1, did you have like a favorite level, a favorite DLC?
Good question. I mean, I really enjoyed the challenge of doing the water sounds for the pirates DLC. I still think that's some of the best sounding water that there is in a game. I've not listened to it for a while, so it might not stand up as good as my rose tinted sort of headphones would make it sound in my mind's ear. But there was just a lot of. The nice thing about that was it was I think that was from memory, that was or was Metal Gear Solid the first DLC we did? I think it might have been. I actually enjoyed those first couple of DLC packs because the intensity, the pace of development had just slowed a bit because we'd shipped the game and that was pretty frantic. So the DLC was we were just tired and had just changed gears down a little bit so it wasn't quite as full on, and so it was leisurely is not the the right word. It's not really the media molecule way certainly not at the time anyway. And yeah, I remember just being able to have the time to actually do a really nice job. And I remember recording a bunch of sounds in my bathtub at home for the water sounds and all this, and just a little bit of iteration. And I remember, I can't remember I've got this memory in my head that I'm trying to catch hold of, but I remember a conversation with Anton Kurtzenau, who's one of the graphics programmers, alongside Alex Evans, and he'd written the code for the water simulation. I guess it's really that's really the surface water, right? Because below it's just some blue stuff, but so it's the top of the water. And so I had set the system up to sound great, but and it was driven by this parameter, which was basically how much movement is there on the surface of the water, and it really didn't sound it's not it didn't sound good, it just didn't do much. And I was like, Anton, the water's going crazy and all I'm hearing is what's that? And they Anton was a man of few words, so he was just he was just thinking, looking at it, and he goes, and he realized that the way he'd coded it, I guess to be really optimal, he actually only did 50% of the scene, and the other side of it was a mirror image. But to make it not look like a mirror, it was out of phase or something like that. So mathematically adding the left side of the screen and the right side of the screen cancel each other out. So the parameter was basically passing through next to nothing, other than obviously at that, he'd done some stuff to maybe mask the fact that it was mirrored in the middle or at the end. So there was a little bit of data coming through, enough for the system to trigger. But he realized that he was summing to zero basically, and that's why it looked busy, but the sound wasn't doing much. And he made a little tweak to his code, and then all of a sudden it sounded fucking amazing. And I was just like, yes! And it's those little funny moments that you remember, because I just it's just nice. Like I say, I'm not a programmer, but I could appreciate that what he'd done was really clever. And all these things, it's a recurring phenomenon where quite often sound will reveal things about code that aren't necessarily apparent from the way it might behave or look. But the sound, because it's tied into the code in some way that nothing else is tied into it in exactly the same way, the sound can sort of reveal things that are going on in the code. And that was just a little random example of the sound was revealing that the code was not necessarily doing what you would expect, even though it was doing exactly what it was designed to do. And I love that shit. I love it. Those little moments in game development where you as a non-coder being exposed to someone else's work and sort of understanding what what it is that they've done, but obviously not on like, you know, the lowest, most basic level compared to the amazing like maths genius that's actually made this stuff happen. And yeah, those I always felt quite privileged to sort of get to see that stuff getting done, because that's the stuff that I think you know, your average consumer doesn't really have much of a sense about how games are made. And so to sort of be, you know, it's like a peek behind the curtain really for someone who doesn't really understand that either, but is a little bit more exposed to it just through the nature of working in house at game studios.